Okay, let's get into one of the biggest chapters in Roman history, the conquest of Gaul by Julius Caesar.
This is a story that's all about ambition, just immense personal ambition.
And it's set at a time when Rome was still a republic, right? Run by the Senate.
Exactly. And Caesar, well, he was a successful politician, but he knew that real lasting power came from two things: military glory and a ton of money.
Both of which he needed to get ahead of his rivals back in Rome.
That's the key. So his decision to invade Gaul, which is this huge area, basically modern France, Belgium, a bit of Germany, it wasn't really about protecting Rome.
No, it was a career move.
It was a massive career move. He needed a legendary victory, and that's what kicked off years of brutal, history-changing war.
And when you look at Gaul itself, the place he was invading, you realize just how big of a challenge this was.
Oh, it was enormous, and the terrain was just incredibly difficult. We're talking thick forests, huge rivers, mountains.
Not easy for an army of thousands to march through.
And a total nightmare in winter. Trying to get food and supplies through the snow, almost impossible. The land itself was a defender.
So who were the defenders? The Gauls.
Right, and it's easy to think of them as one big group, but they weren't. They were actually many, many separate tribes.
Like the Helvetii, the Belgi.
Exactly. Each with their own leader, their own way of doing things. They were skilled farmers, amazing metal workers.
They had good weapons. Big swords, shields.
And they were famously brave, just ferocious warriors.
Yeah.
But they had one huge weakness.
They were always fighting each other.
Constantly.
Yeah.
And Caesar saw that immediately.
Yeah.
He didn't try to fight all of Gaul at once. He'd make an alliance with one tribe to help him fight another.
Classic divide and conquer.
It's the textbook example. He played them against each other perfectly.
But the Romans, they brought something completely different to the battlefield. This wasn't just another tribal war.
Not at all. The Roman army was a professional machine. Its core was the legion.
And a legion is about 5,000 soldiers?
Roughly 5,000 highly trained, full-time legionaries. These guys were career soldiers. Their discipline was just on another level.
Let's talk about their gear for a second. The famous striped armor, the big rectangular shield.
The lorica segmentata and the scutum, yeah. But the real game changers were their weapons. They used a short sword, the gladius.
For stabbing, not slashing.
Right. While the Gauls were swinging these huge swords, the Romans would get in close, shoulder to shoulder in a shield wall, and just jab, jab, jab. Incredibly effective and deadly in tight formations.
And they had that throwing spear, the pilum.
The pilum, yeah, which was designed to bend on impact so the enemy couldn't pick it up and throw it back. Super clever.
But what I find most amazing is that every soldier was also basically an engineer.
That is maybe their single biggest advantage. These weren't just fighters, they were builders. They could build bridges, camps, massive siege engines, and they could do it fast.
Which brings us to the first major fight, the Helvetian War. The whole thing starts because a tribe wants to move.
Yeah, the Helvetii decide to migrate out of their homeland. Hundreds of thousands of people on the move, near Roman territory.
And Caesar frames this as a huge security threat. It's the excuse he needs.
It is. And his first move isn't a battle, it's an engineering project. He built a 19-mile-long wall and trench system to block them from crossing a river.
Just builds a wall.
In a matter of days. It stops the migration cold. Eventually he catches up to them, and the Roman legions just outmaneuver and crush the tribal warriors.
And that victory immediately puts everyone on notice. Caesar is a serious force.
And it shows that Roman engineering is as powerful as its soldiers. I mean, think about their camps.
The castra.
Every single night, no matter where they were, the army would stop and build a perfect fortified camp. A ditch, a wall of stakes.
Same design every time.
So every soldier knew exactly what to do. It gave them a secure base to rest and regroup every single night for years.
And then there's the bridge over the Rhine River. That was just showing off.
Pure psychological warfare. The Germanic tribes thought the river was an impassable barrier. So Caesar's engineers built a massive wooden bridge across it.
How long did that take?
10 days.
10 days.
It was an unbelievable message. It said, "There is nowhere you can hide from us. We can go anywhere."
That's terrifying. So after making a name for himself, he pushes north towards the Belgi.
Who were known as the toughest of all the Gauls. And they knew what was coming. They actually formed a big coalition to try and stop it.
And they almost did.
They came so close. At the Battle of the Sambre River, it was an ambush. Total chaos. The Roman lines almost broke.
God saved them.
Sheer discipline. And Caesar himself riding into the thick of the fighting to rally his men. They held on, reformed, and pushed back. It was a near disaster that turned into a huge victory.
But he wasn't satisfied with just conquering Gaul, he then looks across the sea.
To Britain. Yeah, this is all about reputation. No Roman commander had ever taken an army there. He claimed the Britons were helping the Gauls, but really, he wanted the glory.
The first trip was rough, though.
Really rough. Storms wrecked his ships, and his soldiers had to jump into the water and fight on the beaches.
But he came back.
Oh, yeah. He came back with a much bigger force, marched deep into the island, and made some of the local kings pay tribute to Rome. It made him a living legend back home.
So after all these defeats, you'd think the Gauls would be finished.
You would. But they finally did what they should have done from the start. They united.
Under one leader?
One brilliant leader, Vercingetorix. He understood that you couldn't beat the Romans in a straight-up fight.
So he changed the strategy.
Completely. He started using a scorched earth policy. He had his own people burn their villages, their crops, everything.
To starve the Roman army.
Exactly. Use the land itself as a weapon. And it worked. He actually defeated Caesar in a battle at Gergovia. For the first time, Caesar was in real trouble deep in enemy territory, running out of food and facing a unified enemy.
This all leads to the final showdown, the Siege of Alesia.
The biggest battle of the entire war. Vercingetorix gathers his army in a hilltop fortress, Alesia, and waits for a giant Gallic relief army to show up and crush the Romans between them.
And what does Caesar do?
He does the most audacious thing imaginable. First, he builds a massive wall completely surrounding the town to trap Vercingetorix inside. That's the contravallation.
A standard siege wall.
But then, when he hears the giant relief army is coming, he builds a second wall facing outward, the circumvallation.
So his own army is now trapped between two walls.
Yes, they're the ones being besieged. They had to fight off Vercingetorix's army trying to break out, and at the same time fight off the massive relief army trying to break in.
On two fronts at the same time?
It was desperate. But their training, their discipline, their engineering, it held. They defeated the relief army, and with no hope left, Vercingetorix had to surrender.
And that was it. The war was over.
That was the end of the revolt. The consequences were immense. Millions of Gauls were killed or enslaved. Gaul became a Roman province.
And it laid the groundwork for what would become France. The language, the laws, it all started there.
It did. And for Caesar, well, he came back to Rome with more wealth than anyone could imagine, and an army that was fiercely, personally loyal to him.
And that's what the Senate had always been afraid of.
Exactly. He was now too powerful for the Republic to control. His success in Gaul directly led to the civil war that destroyed the Republic and created the Roman Empire.
And we know so much of this because Caesar himself wrote it all down.
Yep, in his book, Commentaries on the Gallic War. It's this incredibly clear, direct piece of writing.
But he writes about himself in the third person. Caesar did this. Caesar marched there.
Which was a genius move, really. It makes it sound like an objective, factual report. But of course, it was also propaganda. He was telling his side of the story for the people back in Rome. He might have, exaggerated a few things.
I'm sure he did. But it's still one of the most important sources we have on ancient warfare.
Absolutely. The whole conquest was just a masterclass in engineering and discipline. It secured a massive territory for Rome, but that victory, driven by Caesar's personal ambition, ultimately broke the very government he was supposed to be serving.
It really makes you wonder, without that level of engineering genius, would the Republic have survived? Or did the sheer military success make the end of democracy inevitable?
It's a fascinating question, a real turning point in history.
It really is. Keep learning and challenging yourself. Good luck with your studies.